I want to get married. Yes, it's time again to talk of wedding planning. It's been a good few months since wedding month back in February, and more progress has been made. Well, at least it feels like a lot of progress has been made. It felt like it until I looked at my plan. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with the successes. First, big success. A better late than never, but invitations have finally been sent out, and we've gotten a lot of responses back. It's been enough time that I need to start chasing some people who may not have understood some of the instructions on the invitation, but we finally have some guests coming to our wedding, which I may as well use to segue to the site that I was hinting at last video. I said I wasn't going to mention it until it proved that it fulfilled our requirements, and it has, so I shall. The website is called W.A.N.T, and it's a pretty darn handy site. It's completely free as well. My assumption is that it probably makes its money with referrals from other wedding-related sites that I occasionally get emails about. Things like, "Nice guest list, you should buy some invitations from here," and so on and so forth. Thinking about their monetization strategy aside, W.A.N.T is a very handy site. It's a shame I can't really show you too much of the one that I put together because, exposing not just my name, face, honey, our family and friends' full names and emails. Yeah. So I'll try and work around that, probably by just using the content on their main site. The features that I wanted back during wedding month were as follows: being able to send multiple types of invitations, being able to record dietary requirements of the guests, being able to ask various questions and record the responses. And with Joy, we can, sort of, do all of these things, plus a whole host of other features. Before you send an invitation, you can create the online form that the invitation links to. This functions as a decision tree, where you can ask a question and get responses, and based on those responses, ask other questions or display other content. You are also able to choose what content to display via guest tags, which means I better explain guest tags. You can assign tags to your guests to help organize them. The two main tags for me were reception or ceremony. The whole reason I needed to be able to send multiple types of invitations was that the reception was going to be smaller than the ceremony with less guests. So I would tag my various guests, and that way when they open their invitation/questionnaire thing, only those who had been tagged with reception would see the reception content, the location, the time, so on and so forth. This is why I said sort of earlier. I'm technically sending a single invitation, but the content of that invitation is dynamic depending on what the different guest is tagged with. As implied with the decision tree stuff, I'm able to ask questions and record dietary requirements, so all of that is going smoothly. Though looking through the responses, still less than half the people have, so I guess next thing on my to-do list is to follow all those people up. W.A.N.T also offers a bunch of other stuff, like a wedding website builder, where you can fill out different sections like showing the members of your bridal party, which we haven't bothered doing, recommending travel plans, which we haven't bothered doing, setting up a gift registry, which I haven't bothered doing. Then the stuff we have done is some QA stuff, some sections where you fill in the event details, outlining parking, talk about how you and your fiancé met, so on and so forth. You can also populate each section with various photographs, which I've also done. You're also able to download an app for your wedding site, but I haven't bothered checking that out either. My one large word of warning is that when you create your With.Joy site, tons of stuff will be pre-populated to show you what you should be putting in the various sections. So make sure to delete all of it before you send out the invitations, otherwise your guests will be very confused. It's also aimed towards Americans, or at least all the default information is, so all of that pre-filled content has got to do with a wedding in Seattle or something, if my memory serves me correctly. Alright, moving on. Well, not really. While I'm on the subject of guest lists, Honey and I decided to ditch paper cards entirely. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now to actually move on, let's talk about the other big successes. Venues are now well and truly locked in. We've done a much required on-site at the ceremony venue where I timed the aisle walk, and we've figured out the bulk of the requirements as well, which is great. Pretty much everything to do with the ceremony is in motion, aside from the ceremony content and decorations, though some progress has been made in that regard as well. This includes the food, and so I've got to give a great big thank you to, well, I'll have to come up with a name and a character design right now, so, Mama Blob it is, for the time being. She has been amazing in helping us with decorations and planning, and for the purposes of this segment, the food. While looking at caterers, Mama Blob decided that she would be able to handle the post-ceremony food herself, and then proceeded to prove it by cooking more than enough food for our engagement party, which has also been held since last time. So, Mum, if you're watching, which she might, though she's a much larger fan of my music streams at twitch.tv/blobbertmcnugget, thank you so much. We literally could not do this without you. The next thing that has finally been done is the rings. I'm fairly sure I mentioned that I hadn't even gotten Honey her engagement ring, instead using a placeholder when I proposed, but now she finally has her proper ring on her finger, and a matching wedding band. I also now have my wedding band completed as well. Honey chose the design and I paid for it, so really getting a good taste of married life to come. Har har. It does look lovely though, and I'm happy to just finally have them in hand over a year after proposing. The tea ceremony preparations are also progressing. Our friend, who will also host the tea ceremony, gave us their decorations, and we've just decided to hold it at a parent's home. And all that's left is the content of the ceremony, which will work together with the host and actually purchasing the tea. I don't think I can just use Lipton's herbal infusions for that one. Oh, and one thing I've also finished up, though there may be a few tweaks here and there, is writing my wedding speech, so that's just dandy. So let's take a moment to celebrate the successes and the real tangible progress that has been made, because you do have to recognize the successes with these projects to help keep your motivation up. Alright, the moment is over. Let's look at the plan. When I started writing the script, I felt like there was going to be more stuff crossed out, but there's still a lot of items that haven't been done. Things that seem conceptually simple, so let's go through them. The biggest, most pressing, uncrossed out hole in the plan are all the outfits. Aside from my brief foray into high-end suits, which I quickly escaped from, no tangible progress has been made. Honey does have a couple of things booked in regarding dresses, and I have none. This probably is the largest, most time-consuming thing that remains. Seating plans can theoretically be done in a day, though signage printing might take a while, and if worse comes to worst, Honey and I can hold each other and sway for our first dance, much to my parents' chagrin. But if we find ourselves a week before the wedding without outfits, that's going to be a real problem. Like most things with weddings, it's a case of making those bookings, going in and getting it done, especially for me and the men of the bridal party. Suits aren't that complicated, and we just need to go in, get them fitted, and get them rented or bought or whatever we're gonna do. The women folk and my Honey though, those things are largely in their hands, but she is ahead of me planning-wise. All I can do is encourage her and take some of the load off in other areas. In another case of just sit down and get it done, Honey and I need to just bash out the form of the ceremony and the reception. I already did that in my first wedding month video, but we need to figure out which Bible readings, which songs, and what order, and communicating that with our celebrant. Same with reception, we need to chase up whoever we're hoping will do speeches, check with the venue and the music team the timing of the various food courses and band sets, and put that into an actual run sheet so everything gets timed correctly. Once again, not a difficult thing, just a thing that needs to get done. Our invitation cutoffs are still over a month away, so I'm not going to concern myself with the seating plan for the moment, or the gifts, so that section I'll mentally put on hold for the time being, though as I said earlier, I have to follow a large chunk of people up that still have not responded. Custom vows can wait, maybe a little while, though I do need to get started on the aisle song arrangement that I'm planning on doing, which I do have a plan for. You'll just have to wait till next video. I do have to gather a band for the music during the ceremony, but I've got an action plan for that too. Decorations, as I said before, are well underway, with big thanks to Mama Blob, though I'm not comfortable to cross those off until they are 100% locked in and confirmed. The last major item is the foreign guest plan, i.e. how to handle both our Chinese visitors and Chinese speakers during the wedding. My Honey and I have both floated our own ideas, but we need to confirm it. And that pretty much sums it up, really. The next most pressing thing is the outfits, so that will be the immediate focus. Following up the guest list as well, in fact, I'll likely do it the day this video goes live or the week after, then comes figuring out the run sheet and particulars of the ceremony and reception. That's 3 goals to be achieved in, hopefully, short order. Hopefully, if you're planning your own wedding, you've found something useful here. I'll link the With Joy site in the description down below for your convenience. Weddings are certainly a collaborative effort, which shows more than ever that it's not I attempt new things. It's we attempt new things. Ooh yeah, I snuck it in there, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a fruitful day.